Brian, you're going to be working with the attendees and getting them in, correct?
Yep, there are two people waiting.
If it's Eric, let him in.
There you go.
Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Wayne. How are you?
I'm doing well myself.
Hold
Um, I didn't get a group of questions to you, so we're just going to ad hoc it.
on one second. No, Wayne, that's sitting in my drafts. I'd rather be surprised. It'll be more fun.
Well, we're going to wing it because I didn't put anything together, so we're going to talk things
It's all
through.
good. It's all
Okay.
good.
We have about 4 minutes. You figure, Brian, if we don't stop chatting, figure at the most 20-minute mark, we wrap it up. I don't want to make these long. I want to make them shorter. So we're going to just dive in. My conversation at the beginning is just going to be the importance of looking at insurance from an operation point of view
Yep.
and saying, hey, we're going to go over this. We're going to be having multiple series, and what we're going to be talking about right now is just the overview of insurance and how it fits into everything with what we're doing, hitting on the points of, cost of cyber attacks, cyber insurance is a risk mitigation tool, the kind of over encompassing, and then the next two events, we're going to pick specific topics, Eric. Like I thought
Right.
the patch management, the change in the policies, including patch management as a factor for limitations and the policies, I think that's a good one-off section, and we're going to make those, okay?
All right. So high level, 20 minutes.
Yes.
Got it.
From a business perspective, why would they even care?
Yeah.
Okay. And what I'd like to do is promote more the future series than even talk about, hey, insurance or IT, things like that. It's, hey, we're going to educate you. And here's some of the stuff we talk about. Let's give you an overview now so you have a foundation. So when we go into those things, we already know you have a foundation.
Good. Yeah. So don't give away all of it right now.
Exactly. Don't go into the patch site, mention it, but don't go into it. Reading of policies, mention, don't go into it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can make those separate breakouts so they have a carrot for them to come back to.
Sure.
Brian, I'm going to share my screen and you guys tell me if you can see it, because when I do this, I really can't see anything.
Okay.
Do share screen, and I just do the whole screen. Actually, here, does that, I think that'll do it if I do this slide deck. And why does it put the bar right where I have to click? I love this. Slideshow. Ah, come on. Okay, let me move the bar down. Good. From beginning. And it's three. I'm going to talk two talking points and then we're going to jump right in. Eric, did you want to just talk or do you say you want to slides? I say we just talk.
Let's just do it.
Okay.
Let's talk. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
your screen is showing clearly, so that's good.
Okay. So Brian, you give me the cues. Let me know.
Wayne, I think we're live and up on LinkedIn right now. So let's go for it.
Go for it.
I think we've
Go.
been live
Okay.
this whole time.
I paused it along the way, but I'm gonna resume it right now. Okay.
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 Resume it. Make sure we're live.
Okay. I'm resuming now and starting the recording. All right.
And just check. You guys see my screen properly? There's
Yep.
nothing on the right hand side, right?
Yep. No, you're good.
Excellent.
I'm admitting everyone now. All right.
Just let me know when everybody's in. All right, we're at the top of the hour, 1 o'clock. You know, we like to be punctual. I want to thank everybody for coming and attending our series. We're going to be deep diving into not just cyber insurance. The whole idea of this series is to talk about cyber insurance, cyber security from an operational standpoint. Because what we've been seeing is people not looking at cyber security as well as cyber insurance as a risk mitigation tool and as a strategy within the operations. You hear cyber insurance and you're thinking, hey, it's something I have to have, like something you have to have for your car. I have to have my insurance, compared to it being, hey, what is my strategic position for my cyber insurance policies and how that fit into my overall view of my cyber risk mitigation plan. Things like considering how does your cyber policy affects your cash flow? If an incident happens, do I have the cash flow to remediate, or would that policy pay out early where I don't have to dig into my corporate revenue to actually pay out? So it's not just, hey, I have a policy and I get it, or I have a cybersecurity strategy and get it. How does that affect my company, and what should I be really looking at from a C-level, from a CIO, CFO, COO, or even a CEO position? What are the things I should care about? And Eric and I put this together because I'm Wayne Roy. I'm with Troynet. I have been a CTO and also CEO for more than one company. So I've had the pleasure of being in technology, but also actually running a business, understanding all the components and the things I care about with his revenue, growth, expansion, and dealing with multiple employees. How does that now fit in to my overall strategy of putting everything together? Eric is phenomenal. He's the guru, the man, the person that has all the insights of unraveling insurance policies, liabilities, and what does it really mean? Not from, hey, insurance company standpoint, but for the company itself. You as a business owner, you as a COO, you as the CFO, who has to now make these decisions of what policies and what things I should have. What is the right thing for us to have for my company so I can be successful? And if something does happen, do I have the right team and the right things in place for it to be effective? Does that pretty much sum up what we're trying to get accomplished here, Eric?
Yeah, I agree with you, Wayne. I just want to touch on that earlier point you had about cash flow and cyber insurance and how that whole process works. It's a very interesting discussion. We're going to get into it in more depth, probably in a future conversation, because there's many different ways that policy could work. It could be done on a reimbursement basis. It could be subject to a retention. You may have to satisfy your retention first before coverage kicks in. There's a lot to get into there. But that's part of why you size your retention for an appropriate amount for your business and your capability to handle it. I'll just use a quick example there. If you're a $10 million revenue shop and you typically have 200, 300,000 in working capital in the business, maybe more, you might be okay with a $25,000 retention, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is $25,000 if a claim would occur, and you need to cover the first $25,000 before insurance coverage kicks in. But if you're, let's say, a law office with $1 million in revenue, you might want to size that retention to something like $2,500, because you may not have that working capital around to cover the first $25,000 of the loss. But Wayne, your introduction is great. I appreciate it. My name is Eric Wistran. I work for Couch Brownsdorf Insurance Group. Prior to that, I was in the IT space before MSPs were called MSPs. And so Wayne is the real professional on the technology side, and I focus on the cyber insurance side. But my My specific focus is understanding the technology, the stack, how the client does business, and helping them achieve the right mix of coverage and price for their business, and especially as it relates to the nature of cyber insurance policies these days with the increases in attacks. Wayne, I got a little bit of trivia for you.
What's that?
Think about ransomware attackers, right? And those ransomware attackers are out there. They're criminal enterprises. They're groups of different criminal enterprises coordinated, working together. In 2019, the total value received by ransomware attackers, right? This is actually a metric that's tracked, right? I just saw this published this morning. The total value received by ransomware attackers was $220 million in 2019. What do you think it was in 2023?
I cannot even imagine. I assume it's in the billions, but
You're dead on. So it just crossed $1.1 billion.
jeez.
So think of the growth between 2019 and 2023. You go from 200 million to 1.1 billion, right?
Eric, sorry.
and that, go ahead. Go ahead. Wayne.
I was about to say, hold on to that point because I want you to jump deeper into that. Let's jump into everything because I know I just have the screen up right now. Let me just flip through just a real overcap of what we're gonna try to cover. We're gonna have other series that's gonna go deep dive into like things that Eric mentioned about how the cash flow, how does the policy may affect your cash flow, some strategic ways to look at things like there's a new policy out that's affecting patch management, which people take that as a side note. It's going to actually affect how your policy is applied if you actually get paid properly. But before we go with that, this series is just to get a foundation for everybody to understand what this stuff is, because people see here cyber insurance or see insurance in general and roll their eyes and go, you know what, I'm going to pass that off to my person that does HR, that does insurance. But we want to have a conversation with C-level and say, hey guys, let's talk to you from a non-insurance aspect or non-technical aspect. Let's talk from a business aspect. Why should you care? And Eric, I'd love for you to hit on that when we jump in. Why should they care about insurance other than the fact, hey, I have my car, and other than the fact I have to have it to drive my car? The only time I care about it is when I have an accident. You know what? I haven't had an accident in 5 years. So people see only the cost, not the strategic reason for them to have it. My strategy for having car insurance is, hey, something ever happens, and God forbid I hurt somebody or I'm hurt, I could be out of pocket millions of dollars. So that policy that I'm paying is $2,000 a year, and I just spent $20,000 over the last 10 years, does not equate to the policy that covers me for $1 million to $2 million in the availability of funds if something ever happens. You know, that's a 10% difference over 10 years. That's valuable, but we only see the initial cost of something. So digging from the, C-level, why should I care is what I'd like for you to go through, and also talking about talking points of things they should actually be conscious of, to think about.
Yep.
Okay.
Wayne, there's an old saying in the insurance business that nobody cares about insurance till they have a claim.
Exactly.
Right?
Let me do this, Eric. Let me stop this share, and I'm gonna make you. How do I get you to present? What's up on the screen now, Brian? What do you see?
I can see your video as a speaker.
Okay, as a speaker, Eric. So you and I are up,
Yeah.
my friend. Now
All right,
I'd rather us have a dialogue than have a bunch of slides up.
Yeah, no, I like this. So, in general, to use your car insurance example, car injuries in many cases are getting safer, right? Like as we head into the world of self-driving vehicles, there's going to be, less distracted driving. We're not quite there yet, and auto insurance rates are going crazy for many other reasons. But I did want to share. Wayne, do you know what CVEs are?
Definitely do.
Right?
Anybody in
CVEs.
tech, anybody in tech, CIO, CTO on down should know what that is. Truthfully, the business owners should know what that is, but 9 times 10 they wouldn't.
I'm going to share just this one slide and take it back real quick. Can you guys see this? Right?
Yep.
This graph. This is a graph of CVEs from NIST in their critical vulnerability database per year.
Eric, if I could, before you jump in, so everybody knows what the CVEs are publicly published vulnerabilities that's found, that's
Yep.
listed out. NIST is keeping track of these things, and they create codes, and they set priorities based on these vulnerabilities. So if you ever want to see these vulnerabilities, you can actually go and look up CVEs, and that's what that is. I forgot the exact acronym for it, but
so in 2023, there was 28,800 new CVEs.
Mhm.
It's a 15% increase over last year, right? And so what this means is there's either more vulnerabilities or more discovered vulnerabilities. So we're either paying more attention to them or there's actually more of them, right? In any event, it's growing like a hockey stick. So this is the kind of graph that you would see, you know, an early stage tech company talking about their projected growth, right? And being really excited about it. This is really terrifying, right? Because what this means is that all of our growth and sprawl and our technologies and our businesses are subject to these new vulnerabilities and then subsequent manufacturer patches that come out that we have to apply. So these are the methods through with which attackers are accessing systems, right?
Sure.
And the reason that this is scary is because this is driving, in addition to the ransomware capability and the total value in the ransomware market, this is driving a lot of the attacks that are out there, right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen
And
for
Eric,
1 second.
if I can dig into that a little bit, what that means is, in layman terms, as we expand the amount of technology, technology is a good thing. It enhances operations and make you more efficient. But as we have more of these tools, there's more areas for vulnerabilities or security leaks to happen because it's all this new and great things, and they're created by human beings. They're creating code and putting it out there, but nobody's ever perfect. And these hackers are looking for the flaws in these programs. And that's why you see increase. With greater technology, there's greater room for mistakes and greater room for there be more opportunity for vulnerabilities. It's not for you to get scared. It's for you to understand that, hey, you just have to be more diligent. Because it's not only because, hey, there's more hackers, there's also more stuff now. Back in the days, what did you have? A pencil and a calculator. And the calculator was in your hand. Nobody can hack the calculator. Now you have a computer and you have all these slew of different programs created by different people that's creating different entry points for mistakes to happen. So that's why
I'm gonna pause talking about insurance for a second and just talk about the financial implications, assuming insurance doesn't exist. Let's say you come in to work on a Friday morning, you realize all your systems are encrypted. What are the next steps that happen? Well, you're going to have some segment of IT forensics, incident response, getting involved in that particular incident to figure out what happened and to lock down your systems. And they're going to go through a process of documenting it. That has a cost, right? And that can be anywhere between $150,000 and $250,000 to engage a firm to help you through that. You'll also have a cost of business interruption, right? So you may have a threat actor that encrypted all of your computers in your organization and then stopped you from accessing corporate email, right? So you can't transact via email. They may have blocked your access to core management systems and crippled them as well. So you have to think about if I'm in a business that does $35 million a year in revenue, right? That means every day I'm doing how much revenue, Wayne?
I didn't have the calculator with me. It's all you.
Yeah.
Eric.
So every day, right? If I'm doing $35 million in revenue in a year, and there's 365 days in a year, every day I got about 100,000 in new revenue every day, right? So if my systems are down for 30 days, that's about like $3 million, right? In either potential lost revenue or in my costs for lost profits, right? So I still have to pay my staff. I can't go out of business because I have customers to support and do that. So there's a business interruption component that has a real financial loss component to it. And let's say when that attack happens, some of my customers' data is breached, and they sue me because they're upset that their data was breached. So there's third-party lawsuits as part of that. Let's take a somewhat different example. If I'm a law firm and I'm handling a real estate transaction for a customer, and my staff gets is attacked in a social engineering manner or a funds transfer fraud related manner where they direct the payoff to they direct that payoff for a mortgage to the wrong place, and the mortgage doesn't get paid off. So in that case, I may have paid a third party, a threat actor, $300,000-$400,000, right, of my client's money, and because it's my problem, I'm on the hook for it, right? So those are the common types of financial impacts related to cyber liability breaches or cyber risks overall. And what cyber insurance is there to do is provide coverage in a number of those areas, right? So there's coverage afforded for incident response, to pay a forensic firm to help you through that data breach, right? There's coverage for legal defense. There's coverage for third party. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in a second because a lot of people may hear all this and go, this may be scary. The objective of this is not for it to be a scary thing or for you to be fearful of what's going on. It's for you to stop and say, how can I be strategic in what I do? How can I work smarter? And what are the things I have in place to safeguard myself? If you understand where your gaps are, you understand that, hey, I can put things in place. And that's why we talk strategy, okay? It's about lowering your risk when something happens. Hey, my children, I have 3 children, I love them dearly. If they're about to cross the street, I'm afraid. But what I do, I look left and right and I try to safeguard. I can't do 100% guarantee, but I'm doing best I can to minimize the risk for that person. It's the same thing with your business. It's not for you to get afraid. It's not a doom situation. It's for you just to be aware and look around and say, hey, I'm using a lot of programs. What's my biggest flaw? My biggest gap is people. The next thing is how they use the stuff and where my data is. Am I being smart about it? And if something happens, insurance is there for, hey, I'm trying to minimize these things happening, but if something does happen, what's my strategy? Okay. And that's where people neglect a proper policy. Is your strategy when something does happen? Because when something doesn't happen is not calling IT. I'm IT. You call me, great. I'm going to do the best I can, but your company's down. Eric, in your example, that company's making $1 million a day. Hey, if you're down and it took me a week to get you back running, that's $7 million that you've just lost.
Right.
Okay. Can you afford that? There's other things. It's not just about IT alone. IT there's to minimize, help you get back up. But are you looking at everything or just one thing? You can't look at insurance alone. You can't look at IT alone. You can't do employee training alone. It's a holistic view of having a strategy and having good people around you to look at what you're doing and tell you the right things, advising you on the
Yeah.
right way of doing things.
And when we think about the layers of that strategy, Wayne, you know, I've gotten into a few conversations with IT colleagues in the past that I trust quite a lot and are experts in their field. And their position has often been, you know, we have really great controls, right? Why do we need cyber insurance? And they actually,
You're laughing, right?
look
I'm
at
sorry.
cyber insurance often. They look at it as if it's a scam because they've been fed this line that, yeah, it has a war exclusion in it. Well, yes, it does. It has a cyber terrorism exclusion in it.
Mhm.
But what they tend to miss is the business interruption component. Because even if you have perfect controls, you cannot control your employees, the people in the seats doing the hard work for you, right? And you can't control if they accidentally, like in the case of the MGM breach, you think about the help desk getting phished and a social engineering attack on the help desk. Or in the case of that Singaporean firm or the Hong Kong firm, I can't remember which one, that one of the members of the accounting team was involved in a deep fake Zoom call, right? With fake members of their executive committee, and they were socially engineered into a $26 million payment, right? That's where the controls need to be. There's got to be layers of not only information security controls that Wayne can speak to, but in addition to that, overall risk management from the business that prevents that capability of someone to wire that large sum and creates some sort of checkpoint where it has to be signed off by a couple different parties internally to avoid that from potentially happening. And then for the things you can't control internally, there's insurance, right?
So Eric, and I was left when you mentioned controls, but to sum it up, okay, for those people that say they don't need insurance, is those people that are willing to pay have the capital to pay out somebody to remediate, have the capital to now deal with the media, have the capital to pay lawyers, have the capital to actually lose money because you're going to lose money of that time frame because the insurance policy will cover those things. If you have the money and you're willing to just spend all that money out of pocket and never get it back, then you can say you don't need insurance. Insurance is there to help you. It, like I said, to me, it's about cash flow. My policy is there to help my cash flow. It's now going to give me the ability when something happens not to pay out of pocket all these other incidentals that I'm not thinking about. Because not just remediation, there's reputation, there's legal fees, there's forensics, there's so much involved that you don't realize until something happens. There's this cost factor around it. And you mentioned about controls and why I laughed, because a lot of people I hear talk about controls alone. Controls, and so those people are not clear on what controls are. Controls are things like MFA, antivirus. It's things, a piece of technology you can put in place to kind of say, hey, dictate how people use something. That's a control. Here's the issue. You cannot bring a control to court. What courts want to see is a full plan and should prove that you've done due diligence. I say it all the time. Can you prove due diligence? Due diligence is, do I have policies in place saying, hey, this is how we use technology, this is how it's going to work? Do I have processes? This is how I implement those processes, and do I have controls? 3 components that you have to bring. Has to be pay up. The lawyers love paperwork. Has to be something you can physically bring in that's signed off and go here. You cannot say I got an IT company. That's not something that can be brought to court. What I can do is bring to court my documentation that says, hey, I'm NIST compliant, ISO compliant. Here are my policies. Here's my procedures. I've written, my employees have signed off on it, saying they understand how to safeguard data within my organization. This happened. I've done due diligence. You cannot blame me. That's the thing that protects you in court. So that's why I laughed when you said controls alone. The thing that people miss is they look at one thing and they think it's a one-off. Cybersecurity, it's a one-off. It's not. It's about how you operate, and without dealing with a group of people that can consult with you and help you understand is how you function and operate, not about a bunch of tools you can buy, you'll always be missing the mark. And insurance as well, having somebody that understand the insurance policy is a strategic move. It's not a purchase. You
Yeah,
know?
and there's compliance aspects of it, right? So when you have a cyber insurance policy, there's elements of that policy that require you to patch systems within a particular period of time, right? And if you don't apply patches, for instance, in one carrier's case, if you don't apply patches within 45 days, your coverage limit starts to erode, right? And what you thought you had of $1 million may drop down to 500,000 or 250 or 100,000, right? And so as you think about your overall risk management strategy as it relates to the business, and then more focused to IT and data and security, it's important to think of the total cost of that risk. And the total cost of that risk encompasses the controls that you put in place for loss control from a cybersecurity perspective, the controls that you have with your staff, as Wayne was mentioning, your compliance with certain standards. But then the largest part of the total cost of risk is uncovered claims, right? So you have to look very carefully at your cyber insurance policy to make sure that important endorsements are captured there. And I know, Wayne, we're about running up to our 20-minute window.
Yep, I'm looking at that window right now. So we're gonna wrap up here, but just Eric gave you a little teaser for our next few sessions. The next session we're actually gonna go through a policy, and Eric is actually going to go through and look through, hey, what are the things from a business perspective that matters in a policy? Hey, do I have a policy? Here's something that a lot of people don't realize. If you're breached, okay, and you have a vendor that through your relationship with them, their clients were affected, they have the ability to come sue you. Are you covered for that? Due to your breach that affected some other person through proxy, does your policy cover that? And are you still able to collect on it? People don't think that. Your exposure may be affected by somebody else down the line. You may have lawsuits that come in from something not direct to you. Are you covered with that? There's multiple things that I think, and we're going to try to keep it layman terms and drill through what the stuff really means from a business perspective. If I'm C-level, what do I really care about? You know, what's the thing that's really important? And another session, Eric, you brought up patch management. There's a big deal right now with patching. I know most people in C-levels go patching. Why am I involved with that? It's not just about IT should be looking at patching, but I find most organizations, I say from 200 up to above 200 to 500 employee environments, they're really not patching the right way, and they're not focusing on that. The insurance policies now are affected by how efficient your organization is updating the computers and technology within the organization. And if that's not up to par, that can actually affect how much you have to pay out of pocket towards things that may happen. And it's not just, hey, a group, it could be one thing that affects your complete policy. We're going to do a session on that, kind of dig deep in it. But Eric, reaching on the top of the minute, I think we did, we hit on the points we wanted to hit on today. Is there any closing remark you want to make?
I think the most important thing that I can share with folks is to read that insurance policy you have, if you have one already, and work with your insurance broker to better understand the coverages that are available and what you have right now and what your duty to comply is with a number of those coverages, right? And also work with your MSP. You know, talk to Wayne at TroyNet. He's got an awesome team of folks to help you achieve compliance in whatever form or fashion that might look like for you. So thanks, Wayne. Really appreciate talking to you.
Not a problem at all. Let me put this up real quick, and I should have done this before. Hey, that didn't work. Well, anyway, I can't get it up, but if anybody wants to reach out to us, you can reach out at engage, ENGAGE at troynet.com. And we have a free cybersecurity assessment, cyber insurance assessment. If you want to look at your policies or review it and see if there's any gaps, reach out to us and we'll get Eric on top of it. We can take a look at it and see if we see things that you might want to consider. Again, it's my email is WROYE at troynet.com, or shoot an email to engage, ENGAGE at troynet.com. And I'll see everybody at the next session. Have a good one. Thanks, Eric. Talk to you later.
Great. Thanks so much. Yep. Bye.
Bye.